Today, it's an incredible honor. It's a pleasure for us to welcome the iconic actress, star. She's a producer, she's a co-writer,
and most famously, a Burbank mom at LILA.
She's an activist and she's a parent at our school. Milla Jovovich. Thank you so much for coming, Milla.
Are you kidding? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is an honor. And I can't wait to find out more about who you are as a person and what your story is.
Well, yeah, it's, I don't know if you want to get too close.
Well, let's see how deep the rabbit hole runs. And the first question is, what are some of the powerful memories you have of your childhood?
Well, definitely, it was difficult. My parents were very hardworking, but at the same time, young. They had defected from the Soviet Union at the time. That was like 1981. We came to America. And so, you know, my mother was a movie star in the former Soviet Union at the time. My dad was a doctor. And of course, coming to America, you have to start with zero. And so it was tough. And so my mother pretty much, you know, taught me what she knew, which was to be an actor. But you know, it was a hard upbringing. It was hard to see my parents struggle the way they did. You know, especially coming from places where they were very respected in their own countries with the careers and the choices and they had made, and you know, coming to a place that, you know, it doesn't give a damn who you are if you don't have connections, if you don't have money, if you don't have independence, you know, especially a town like LA. It was especially hard because my mom, being an actress, thought that, you know, she was at that point 28. She was gorgeous. She was, you know, she thought she was going to just come and, you know, everybody was going to, all the doors would open. And she was very, very quickly disillusioned. Yeah, so that was hard as a kid to see her struggle through that. And you know, so all I wanted to do was help.
So there were multiple transitions, though. I mean, anytime a child would go from the former Soviet Union into Southern California, that's just a transition for a child. But at the same time, you're navigating that with your parents who are going through their own major transitions.
And, you know, young parents. I mean, my dad was, you know, 30. My mom was 28. I mean, this point, I'm 50, you know, they were kids. Like, they were crazy. They partied. They, you know, they loved. They fought. I mean, it was very, very, very crazy family dynamics, you know? And, of course, like the bickering and the blaming and it was tough, you know, to be in the middle of all that. And, you know, so for me, I just wanted so badly to help. And, you know, I think my mom immediately saw in me, like, you know, that she could do something with me because I had this face. And, but, you know, it takes all types. You know, my mom was very much like a disciplined in a certain way at like the best Russian film schools, this and that. But I think being a great actor and being a great teacher are two different things. And I think even if you're the best teacher, it really depends on the student as well, like how to understand, like how to teach them in particular, which I'm finding out actually now because I have 3 girls and my eldest is an amazing actress. And, we've always worked so well together, but then my middle child, she's had a few auditions and she's shown some interest, but like, I can't approach her the same way that I do with my eldest, and she doesn't respond. Like, so I realized in myself too that, oh, it's not that I'm just this great teacher. It's just that it just happened to be that my first kid like
responded differently
well to it, and this one like shuts down to it. So you have to find, as a good teacher, like the way in to where a person can be comfortable, to feel trust, because that's the most important thing, I think, as an actor, is to feel safe and to feel like you're allowed to make mistakes.
Who was a teacher or a coach or a mentor that really marked you, that struck you? And just tell us a little bit about that.
I would say like the most influential like person in my life was Luc Besson. He directed me in The Fifth Element. We were married. He was like everything in my life. He was creative and just such a powerful force of nature creatively, and an amazing director, and really like helped me form the character of Lilu in The Fifth Element, and it was the first time that anyone had demanded me to like really be better, like not just better, but to like leave myself behind and not be scared to make mistakes. And not only that, but like you have to look stupid, you have to make mistakes to be able to understand what's real and what's a lie and what's the truth. Like you have to lie and feel uncomfortable about it to understand what that feels like, so that then you know what the truth feels like.
Could you ask our guest to unpack that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of the quote from Picasso, "Art is a lie to tell the truth."
Well, I mean, for me, I feel like whenever you go over, like for me personally, I say like let's run the lines, let's run them, like let's run them many different ways, and like let's do it badly. Like, so you really feel uncomfortable. You know that you did it wrong. So once you know what wrong feels like, then you can let go of that and like understand what right feels like.
Never heard that before.
Yeah, that's an interesting pedagogic theory. I like that.
There's a lot in around the notion of what's called productive failure, that you lean into failure, you embrace it because of the lessons, but the idea of actually intentionally stepping into it to find out what it feels like, so you have a contrast for what the right feels like is.
Yeah, it's funny because whenever you feel like this, it just feels like uncomfortable. It feels weird. It feels wrong, and it does. And you just gotta like keep doing it. And then sometimes like I do like grounding exercises with my daughter, where I go, okay, like let's find who you are. Like, who are you? Like, let's just talk. I'm just going to interview you like you're doing an interview, like we're talking right now. Like, what's your name? Where do you like a lie detector test, like normal questions that you would know, and like just answer me, and like we'll just talk for a while. And then finally, after a while, I'm like, okay, there you are. Do you feel where you are? Like that's you. There's the truth. Like whatever you're doing right now, like you feel comfortable, obviously. Like right now, we all feel comfortable. So like we're grounded. So you have to like ground yourself to know that you don't have those like, this is uncomfortable feeling, right? You have to trust your gut.
Well, you've had so many iterations, and whether as a model or in acting or in writing or in producing, and then the life transitions. You've multilingual, so there has to be a lot of personal calibration that you're relying on, a lot of resetting, or does this feel right? Does this fit?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think we call that metacognition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm going through that. I've always been a very like highly existential kid and adult, and I've gone through like many kind of mini crises, like midlife crises at like the age of 10, and then at the age of like 15, like I've always had that kind of existential understanding of, wow, this is my life now, but like I'm gonna blink and you know here I am at 50, and I remember the day that I was 10 years old going, wow, one day I'm gonna blink and I'm gonna be 50. Yeah, and it's like things like I could
When you were
the
young,
rabbit hole goes deep.
the rabbit hole's going deep. I mean, when you were young, when you were a kid, did you tell yourself, I want to be a star, I want to be a great actress?
No, absolutely not. I wanted to be an archaeologist, an Egyptologist to be exact. I was very shy. I was very, I was not like the kid that was the most popular at school. It wasn't easy for me to make friends, or I didn't feel comfortable like with people or being in front of people. My mom really, it was hard for her because she like fed off of that. She loves the audience. She loved going on stage, and I was the opposite. So it was very, very difficult for her with me, because yeah, it was tough.
But so basically, she pushed you into acting rather than you pushing yourself, and she.
Oh yeah. No, she knew that like I was gonna kind of be the way out of like the way out or the way in or whatever it was for us to like make our way forward as immigrants in this country and like move forward, like. And she was going to teach me what she knew by hook or by crook, like whether I liked it or not, And I had a responsibility to my family to do it, to make it, to help the family, That was just being like Eastern European. I think a lot of probably European people understand like family is very much like you do what you need to do for your family. And so I had that from a very early age, like that responsibility,
But that must have been. You're right. That's common in many cultures and prominent in Eastern European. Your situation was a little different, though, in that you were emerging as sort of a singularity in the different fields that you were in, not just succeeding, but succeeding as a superstar, if I can put it in those terms. And I don't know if you're comfortable with those terms, but I think a lot of people would.
I mean, I don't know if I would use those terms. I mean, I feel like I've done really great, and I have a wonderful fan base and stuff. But
however anyone would describe it, though, experiencing that level of success and fullness in multiple directions, multiple pathways must be a little bit different than simply I'm going to help my family. I'm going to I'm going to live out my mother's desires for me and support my family. And I don't know if it's a fair question, but how did your taking on that family sense of responsibility, how did that mix with sort of this growing sense of this really is truly an unusual path that I'm on?
I think something that something that my mom definitely instilled in me was a love of literature and reading from a very early age. And so, educating myself was something I understood was really important. And especially because I started modeling so young and acting, and in that world, people just kind of would assume that you're an idiot, so it was almost
That's
like,
interesting. Yeah.
Extra. I had to like prove even more that I had a brain, that I was educated, that I was literate, that, I knew philosophy and history and loved different classical literature, this and that. That was always really important for me. And then at the same time, I had like my other outlets, like I put out an album when I was 16, went on tour, all across America, across Europe. Writing was something that I really loved to do. I really always felt like I had something to give as a writer. So I did that for a long time. But of course, that was hard, because in the end, it wasn't going to pay the bills. And so at one point, I had to like go back and, go back to the bread and butter and go back to the modeling, the acting, and yeah.
So we're talking about how your experiences have forged your character, and we sense culture, values. What do you think a great education should look like in today's very chaotic world of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, technology, social and emotional pressures on young people? What are if you could design the sort of perfect school, what would be happening in it?
And he's taking notes as head of the school year.
I think there's a lot of pressure put on kids to learn sort of subjects that certain kids love and are very good at, but they're not teaching you how to actually live a life in real life. They're teaching you pre-calc, but they're not teaching you how to budget. They're not teaching you how to do your taxes. They're not teaching you just elementary things of like, if you have this much money, this is how much you have to pay for rent. This is how,
Yeah.
I think there needs to be more for kids to leave school without just having a bunch of formulas in their brains. And listen, a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but I do think that it's a little bit of an archaic system. Like Dr. Ken Robinson is somebody that I love, and the way he talks about schools and how they were, invented in the early 20th century and by the enlightened kind of people of the day, the scientists, the Benjamin Franklins, but at the same time, it was like kind of these systematic factories that were standardizing these kids to all do the same thing at the same level, and kind of taking the joy out of learning.
Right.
And discovering and making mistakes and saying, no, you have to pass this standardized exam or you're a failure.
Right.
But like, actually, this kid is just not paying attention because he's bored because this class is not interesting, or this teacher isn't interesting, or maybe he's really good at something else, and everybody's different. And, I just think this kind of early 20th century industrialized, standardized school systems are really not good for kids. I think, kids need to be valued as individuals. And if a kid is acting out, that's not a sign that they're a bad kid. That's a sign that they're needing something different. They need help. It's a cry for help. When someone's, clowning around or, being annoying or whatever, there's a reason for it. And I don't think it's just because they're like a-holes, I think it's because they're bored or they don't get it. And maybe a different type of teacher that really understood it could explain it better, but maybe it's because they want to draw, they want to do something else. Like everyone is different, and to make everybody pass the same test and say, oh, you're good and you're not good is just, I think, very outdated.
It's a production system approach and a way to try to force kids to conform to schools instead of getting schools to conform to the kids. And to treat the kids individually.
It's really sad because, I think education is like literally the most important thing. And I mean, right now it's crazy what's happening with public schools, especially. But yeah, I think it's a travesty, how little respect teachers get in this country in particular, and how little respect students get trying, to go to college, when you compare it to Europe. And, education should be something that everyone should have access to. Anyway, now we're getting into other areas. Now we're getting political.
What's your definition of intelligence?
For me, intelligence is being able to read a room. To be able to walk into somewhere and understand what people are saying without saying it.
It's been a great privilege, Milla, listening to you, learning from you, thinking about intelligence, about education. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and so proud to have 3 LILA children.
Well,
love you guys.